Chapter 311 Spoiled Anna. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Anna's POV, Vanaheim. Anna teleported back to Vanaheim, the capital city of the elves, as the moment she landed there she was royally escorted back to the palace. The current elven king and the father of Ruby and Anna was a man who had never learnt to say no to his daughters. Unlike his eldest son, whose life he strictly monitored and guided, he gave free rein to both his daughters as his only requirement in life for them was to be happy. When Ruby decided that she wanted to marry Shikuni, the king was a little distressed. However, seeing the wealth and the power of the man, he was assured that he would take good care of his Ruby, but unfortunately soon after their marriage, he died, leaving Ruby with a newborn child. On the other hand, reports suggested that his second daughter was living the life of an adventurer, participating in fights and killing people on the battlefront. She was living a life on the edge, and not the comfortable, happy and carefree life the king had envisioned for her. Hence when Anna landed in Vanaheim, she was escorted back to the palace where she was forced to have a word with her father. "Greetings, father, I see you are doing well," Anna said as she politely greeted her dad the king. "Anna, my darling," the king said as he politely kissed Anna on top of her head and stroked her silky hair. "You smell like blood and vampires, unlike flowers and petals," the king said as he took a jab at Anna's lifestyle. "I'm doing fine for myself, father, I'm truly having a lot of fun, I'm happy," Anna said in a soft voice as these words melted her father's heart. Since childhood the king had never placed any responsibility of any sort on Anna or Ruby, neither administrative nor political. He did not marry them off to make alliances and did not force them to go on dates with men they did not wish to. However, his concern for their security was paramount. "What is it about men who thirst for danger that allures both my daughters? Why can't they like tailors, artisans or blacksmiths? That boy you roam with, Raven, he's quite the shining star in the vampire community, very nice, but I can say from miles away he is a man en route to make powerful enemies and be involved in a bunch of big mess that he will drag you into. Is that truly what you want?" the king asked Anna as he folded his arms behind his back. "I'm not allured by him, he already likes my other friend, and yeah, we will go through adventures together," Anna said as she denied being allured by Max. "Your sister said the same thing, you know, about the Shikuni boy. He also had a wife and kids, but now she has his kids. God bless Shikuni for that. My grandson is a smart and strong one," the king said as he denied Anna's act of playing innocent. He knew his daughter well enough to know that she would not hang around with the group if she was not in love with the boy. In her heart Anna knew he was right, however, she could never bring herself to actually admit it. "Well, on that matter, I need your help," Anna said as she hastily tried to change the topic. "Of course I know you are here for my help, that's the only reason you kids come home these days," the king said as he took another shot at his girls for not visiting him enough. Anna stuttered for a second, but soon regained her wits as she said, "We need a base of operations, Dad. We have been pledged an army but have no place to keep the troops and feed them. We need functional infrastructure and we need it within the next 2 days. Wars and armies, the two things I absolutely hate in life. I can't give you a planet to store them, but there is an island on one of the planets we own that has an abandoned army camp not used in 5 decades. It will need some mending, but it will easily store 500,000 troops. If you have no other options you can bring them there," the king said as within seconds he solved one of the biggest problems the group had. Anna flew into the king's chest for a hug, as she was absolutely elated by this reply, and the king chuckled as he hugged and stroked her happy daughter's head. Such a happy attitude was exactly how the king wanted to see his daughter forever. While Anna did not hang around for long, leaving quickly after having lunch with the king and her elder brother, she left Vanaheim with a full stomach and a content smile, knowing that while she might not have secured the best deal, she secured a deal enough for the group to make do for now. Meanwhile, inside True Elite City, Max felt odd walking without his mask for the first time in public as he walked through the human settlement inside True Elite City on planet Radiance. Very oddly, although Neatwit, who was the current guildmaster of the True Elites Guild and the king of the True Elites Kingdom, had a magnificent Thunder Palace ready for him, he chose to live amongst humans on planet Radiance as he worked from his old office in the guild headquarters itself. At first, nobody seemed to care about Max, however, then when one person recognized his face despite his draconification and shouted, "Hey! Are you Max Rajput?" Within seconds a huge crowd formed around Max as people lost their minds to meet the shining star of humanity. Max was asked to sign autographs and take selfies with thousands of fans, as Max himself did not understand when his popularity grew to such great lengths. The situation got so out of control, that the local enforcement officers had to provide Max with a special transport vehicle to take him to the elite headquarters as he had managed to block the entire traffic for 2 blocks without it. Images of his face swarmed the social media, as within minutes he was on the headlines of every major news outlet with titles such as, "The Prodigal Son Returns, Our Savior's Brother is Back." "Max Rajput has cat eyes." "Buff and handsome, humanity's best youngster is back home." //////n. Bonus chapter June 10th, for more to do today /////. Chapter 312 Enough influence. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Max felt his notifications buzz as many of his old friends from Earth texted him to catch up now that he was back on Radiance. However, Max ignored all their texts. The only text he could not ignore was that of his sister-in-law Naomi, as that message was pretty intense. Naomi. "Max, if I find out that you didn't visit home on your way out of Radiance, it won't end with you having the best consequences." Max gulped in fear when he read that text as it already had undertones of anger for Max not informing Naomi that he was going to visit Radiance, but she still gave Max a chance to redeem himself by visiting home on his way out. "Grandpa Drax, please remind me that I need to visit home on my way out of Radiance," Max said to Drax in his head. However, the old Jedi had a violent response to this request. "What do you think I am, Max Siri?" "I'm not your alarm clock," Drax replied angrily as Max winced at his reply. Max secretly wished that Drax was like Siri, it would make his life a little easier if he was. "Sir, we have arrived at the True Elite's headquarters. We do not have clearance to take the hovercraft inside the premises. I'm afraid we will have to drop you here," the security official who brought Max out of the jam on the street said, as Max generously rewarded him with 5,000 gold coins for his effort. 5,000 was about 6 months of his salary, so that man was absolutely stumped to see the amount. However, he was also extremely grateful. Max walked into the True Elite's headquarters after doing his security clearance. Being an ex-elite, he had the credentials to walk into the building unimpeded, as once he was inside he quickly looked for the guild secretary Amelia, as she was the one person who could fix an appointment with Neatwit for him. Thankfully Max found Amelia's office right where it used to be all those years ago, and he walked into it with confidence as Amelia raised an eyebrow seeing his smiling face walk into her cabin. Well, if the sun did not rise from west, damn it, we are on Radiance now, it does rise from the west." "Silly me," Amelia said as she realized that the old idioms from Earth were not applicable on Radiance anymore. Max laughed. This was a side of the guild secretary that no one but he had seen, as ever since he was a child, Rudra would always be busy with work, so whenever Max wanted to meet him and he would be busy with a meeting, he would spend his time with Amelia, who would take care of him like a babysitter. While she was cold and ruthless to outsiders and guild members, Max was one of the only people she had a soft spot for. "You look good, Max, tall, buff. I liked your kinder eyes more, but it's okay, seems like you're quite powerful and doing well." "You remind me of your brother," Amelia commented as her voice choked when she spoke the last sentence. It had been hard on everyone after Rudra died, as he was literally the whole and soul of the entire guild, having built the place from the ground up. "You look good as well, big sister Amelia, no wrinkles, no tan lines, you would almost fool anyone into thinking you are in your 20s, Max said as he sneakily complimented Amelia's looks. "You and your glib tongue, save it for your girlfriends, your charms are useless on me," Amelia said as although she said she was immune to flattery, her smile was a dead giveaway. "I need to see the guild master, I need some help, can you adjust me in for a meeting today?" Max asked Amelia. "He has a meeting with Christian Grey in 15 minutes, but that cocky bastard can wait, I will send you in first, Amelia said as she winked at Max. Max chuckled hearing this. He had been a little worried that after becoming such a big shot maybe Neatwit would not meet him, but it seemed like his name was still good around this part of the universe. Meanwhile Asiva and Severus, I'm an outlaw, I can't just return to meet the Patriarch, he has cut ties with me, Severus said as he tried to explain to Asiva that although he had no bad blood with Sam, he was currently in exile from the St. Maximus clan and could not return after his stunt with the Kingsman clan. Oh well, your daughter needs this favor, will you fail me and my father in this critical hour, Severus? Asiva asked with a frown as she brought her dead father's name into the argument. Severus was speechless once Cole Paradis's name was introduced. The man was his best friend. Him and Cole were like Max and Sebastian back in the day, and it was the only reason why he was the godfather of Asiva. I would have died for Cole, if I could, you know that, Severus said seriously as he reminded Asiva of their bond. Now I need your help to avenge him, please. Talk to the Patriarch for me, Asiva said as she urged Severus to find a way. Severus paced around the room as a million different things popped into his head until finally he found the most plausible way for him to contact Sam. I'm going out, I'm going to try my best to have a conversation, but I guarantee nothing. If I'm caught and jailed again, know that it will be your responsibility to bust me out. Severus said as he walked out of the room and disappeared into the wind. Asiva smiled seeing this. She knew the exact capabilities of Severus. There was no chance in hell he was going to get caught. Not by St. Maximus security at least. /////A/N Chapter July 10th, enjoy, ///// Chapter 313 Everything has its price. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Come in, Neatwit said as he expected to see Christian Grey, however, was surprised to see Max. Hello, Guildmaster, Max said as he awkwardly sat on the chair in front of Neatwit. The two of them sat in silence for a while as Neatwit inspected Max. While Max noticed the changes in Neatwit during his brother's time as the Guildmaster, Neatwit was his key player whose only obsession in life was to be at the top of the leveling leaderboards. It was not until many years into gaming with the elites that he slowly started to care more about the guild than his personal glory and was molded into a responsible elder in the guild. Still, he had that cool carefree player aura around him, and Max remembered him being a pretty chill guy until his brother stepped down as Guildmaster and handed over the reins to his friend Karna. When Karna became Guildmaster, he promoted Neatwit to the Vice Guildmaster post, and it was there that Neatwit became truly buried in work and had to slowly become more mature. However, he was unrecognizable now. His aura was dangerous, his eyes were sharp and his demeanor was suspicious. He looked nothing like the chill guy Max knew once upon a time, but rather had the same aura that Patricia One Night and Regus Aurelius had, the aura of a king. What can I do for you today, Max? I hope it's a pleasant reason for you to visit us at the elite headquarters today, Neatwit said as he leaned forward towards Max awaiting reply. I'm here on behalf of a close friend. He needs a planet to station roughly 500,000 troops, but has no place to keep them. I can vouch for him, and pay any reasonable rent amount on his behalf, but I need you to lend me a planet for this purpose. Max said, as he had to lie about needing it for a friend, since he could not be forthright about wanting it for himself as it would expose his identity as Raven. Who is this friend of yours? Neatwit asked as he seemed to be curious about the identity of the person who could make Max come ask for a favor. Captain Raven, a vampire, Max said as Neatwit's eyes brightened at the name. I've heard about that boy, a funny one he is. If I were you, I'd stay away from him. He's made enemies with the Caesar clan. I'm not sure they'll let him live for too long. They already have a hit order out on his head, Neatwit said as he casually revealed critical information that Max was unaware about. The Caesars had put out a hit order on Raven's head, and since the true elites were one of the best guilds in the universe, they naturally received a hit order on this mission alongside the other assassin guilds. How much is the bounty? Max asked, as he felt his heart beat faster. If the bounty was too big, it would put the top assassins on his tail. 300 million gold coins, enough to mobilize tier 5 assassins, Neatwit said nonchalantly as he leaned away from Max and began to think about his proposal seriously. Max, I do have empty planets where I can rent you space, however, I will charge you 3 times the rent because you met me today through backdoor channels. Karna and Rudra were my brothers. When Karna died, I was depressed for a whole month, literally on the verge of mental breakdown. If your brother did not decide to take on the Thunder Nation back then, I might have thrown my life away trying to kill Thor on my own. There is no favor in this world I won't do for you until it's not detrimental to the guild. However, since your brother is not around, I need to take it upon myself to teach you a valuable lesson. There is nothing like free meals in this universe. Your connections are only good when both parties get something out of it. The moment you try to leverage connections for one-sided profit, they start to crumple. If you met with me today after making a proper appointment and going through the right channels, I'd give the planet to you for free, I really would. Christian Grey had to wait 7 months to get 20 minutes of my time, yet you walked in front of him. I don't mind, and I won't refuse to help you, but you will pay 3 times the amount, understand? Neatwit said as he let Max know the importance of not overusing his connections and status. The empire that Rudra had built, Max could undoubtedly use it and leverage it to his advantage. It was not his fault that he was born the younger brother of Rudra Rajput, and he had every right to leverage his birth name. However, he also needed to learn that everything came with a price, especially favors. I understand, Guildmaster, I'll give you a confirm answer in 24 hours, Max said as he politely bowed and took his leave. Meet Amelia on your way out, she will hand you the documents about the planet's location and habitat. Also stay away from the Raven boy, he's more trouble than you know, Neatwit said as he insisted that Max rethink his ties with the vampire. I'll keep that in mind, Max said as he felt weird telling Neatwit that he would stay away from Raven when in fact he himself was Raven. As Max walked out of the office, he saw a smiling Christian Grey waiting for him as he high-fived Max and hit his butt before entering Neatwit's office. Max rolled his eyes at Christian's behavior, but he also knew that if everything went well and he became a lord, he would need unscrupulous merchants like Christian to really keep the economy of his lands moving. ///////n. Chapter August 10th, we are almost there, //////. Chapter 314 Shady People. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Everyone in school had that one classmate who was involved in all sorts of shady businesses. This person could do anything if given the right price and spent most of his time outside the class rather than inside. Elias was one such person who Sebastian knew back at the academy, as despite the strict security system in the school that made stealing things from the various laboratories impossible, Elias still managed to sneak out high-quality potions, unique artifacts and invaluable books. Sebastian had paid the guy once for some health potions, and it was in that brief conversation that the two had that Elias revealed that his family was in the planet acquisition business. It was a very shady business they ran, where they were contracted by various corporations who needed migrant workers to forcefully heckle and vacate the immigrants of a planet and force them to become migrant workers for that particular corporation. Elias's father then not only vacated the land and sold it to the highest bidder, but also got paid for bringing the corporation immigrants. If given a choice, Sebastian would never mingle with such criminals. However, special circumstances forced him to set a meeting with this man. Sebastian. My buddy. Long time no see you, shoddy, Elias said as he looked like he had just had an ass whooping of a lifetime the night before, having a horribly swollen face and black eyes. By coward gods, what happened to you? You look horrible, Sebastian said as he winced looking at the cut under Elias's ear which was oozing with pus. It was the government, my man, they beat me black and blue for some criminal hiding on a planet we just vacated. I did not have a clue who they were talking about, Elias said as he wiped the dripping pus off his ear and signaled for Sebastian to take a seat. So your message said you want to buy a planet, what's your budget range for this? Elias asked, getting to the point as he used business 101 with Sebastian. By asking for the price Sebastian was willing to spend, Elias wanted to get an idea of his budget and then upsell him one of the properties. My budget depends on the planet, the temperature, the habitat and the location, Sebastian said as he did not fall for the other party's petty tricks. In Sigma, 9 out of 10 planets did not have a teleportation center built in. A teleportation center was extremely costly and not every local administration could afford to build one. While all major powers and the planets under them had teleportation centers built in, there were still thousands of planets across the universe with minimal infrastructure. Under such circumstances, if the planet they chose as their base was 2.3 days away from Dombivli City, then it would be a logistical failure on their part. They needed a planet close to the Vampire Kingdom, so that they could reach the Kingsman territory fast and without hindrances. Well, what's the location you are looking for? Elias asked Sebastian. Near Vampire Kingdom, Sebastian replied. I don't have one near that region. Regus Aurelius is a tough bastard to mess with, but I do have a moon near that area. It is tidally locked across the sun, so only half the moon is technically habitable. The habitable zone has temperatures between 5.25 degrees Celsius and has red iron-rich soil. It has 2 oceans, and used to be a goblin hideout. So I'll give you a good deal on that property if you're willing to pay, Elias said as he gave a fair assessment of the moon to Sebastian. How much to lease it for 2.3 years? Sebastian asked as Elias rolled his eyes and seemed to do some mental maths. Because you are my friend. I'll give you special price of 100 million gold coins a year, Elias said as he used the cliché businessman dialogue on Sebastian. 60, Sebastian said not blinking an eye. No, best price 90, Elias said as he touched himself from ear to ear. Okay, give me a day to think about it, I'll give you my final answer by tomorrow, Sebastian said as he stood up and shook hands with Elias. Sebastian knew that if he haggled enough he could get the deal at 80, which was an acceptable price for a temporary base. However, he needed to confirm with the other guys before sealing the deal. Meanwhile, Arteta was an old veteran of the Assassin's Guild based in Dombivli City. He was a loyal supporter of the Kingsman clan and a star assassin with a kill rate of over 99.5% in his entire career of 40 years. He had only ever failed to kill 2 targets, both of whom were stronger than him at the time and managed to live by the skin of their teeth. At Tier 5 he was one of the most respected assassins of the guild as well and got priority on any mission that he wanted to choose. When the hit order on Captain Raven came out from the Caesar clan, he did not think much of it. However, when he read the mission details and found out that this Captain Raven intended to launch an attack on the Kingsman land, he was enraged and took personal interest in the mission. According to his data, the target was extremely skilled warrior at Tier 3, so he was an easy prey for Arteta, yet, the veteran assassin did not underestimate the target at all. For him to be able to destroy an entire fortress alone, he was sure to have lots of tricks under his sleeve and Arteta needed to be careful. Hence, accepting the mission he began collecting information on the target, as he began preparing his assassination plan. His goal was to kill Raven before he organized his army and managed to launch an attack on Kingsman territory. ///////A/N. Chapter September 10th, we are 90% done, hope you all are enjoying /////. Chapter 315 Severus came through. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Rising Star Planet, System Notification. You have entered the safe zone, Rising Star Planet. Max entered the Tier 3 planet and the first thing he saw was the system notification telling him that he was inside a safe zone. Initially when Max had just reincarnated he did not appreciate the comfort that safe zones brought him, as he did not put his life on the line 24/7, but now that his life was a roller coaster of adventure, he found mental peace whenever he entered a safe zone. He had returned to Rising Star Planet as it was the decided meeting point for the group after their individual attempts at securing a base of operations. The group had decided to meet at the Oriental restaurant owned by the 7 Galaxies Bank and chat while having a meal inside one of the VIP rooms of the restaurant in complete privacy. Max's VIP card gave him access to such private rooms across the universe and he was very thankful for it. As Max reached the restaurant, he saw Asiva, Sebastian and Anna waiting outside the restaurant for him, as everyone had a big smile plastered over their faces. Max chuckled seeing their smiling faces as he entered the restaurant and gave his VIP card to secure a private room, as the group sat and ordered before starting their conversation. My father has agreed to let us use an island on one of the elven planets as a base of our operations. It's a rainforest and has a humid climate, but the tall trees and thick forest makes it the perfect place to station armies with minimal surveillance. The biggest benefit is that since it's a planet primarily occupied by elves, it's not a base where the Kingsmen would be able to attack us freely. Their ships will be blown to smithereens before they can ever dock on the planet if they try such maneuvers. Also, since my dad loves me so much, we pay absolutely nothing to use that base. However, the downside is that Dombivli City is about 23 hours in a regular spaceship from the planet we will be on. Too far away for proper logistic support. Anna said as she was the first one to give details on how things went on her end. Honestly, that's not a bad sounding deal at all. Well done, Anna. Sebastian encouraged her, as he felt like there were a lot of plus points to her deal. My conversation with Elias was also okay. He offered us a moon planet. The temperature and living conditions are pleasant. The land area is enough to house 50 million troops if need be. However, the moon is dirty, riddled with archaic spiders of varying strength. If we go there we will definitely lose the weaker troops by the hundreds every day. Also, the gravity is very weak, not good enough for most food crops to grow. If we want we can get it for 80 million gold coins a year. It's not too expensive but still not free like Anna's. The biggest plus of this moon would be it's only 4 hours from Kingsman territory on regular ships, 1 hour in light-class warships, Sebastian said as he bit into his food. The sly salesman Elias had conveniently left out the details about the gravity and the spider problem of the planet, which Sebastian found out on his own after a little digging. We can't afford to lose Titus clan troops by the hundreds before the fight even starts. Although Vega has been generous, we still have to pay a war indemnity for every troop life lost in battle, and it's not a small amount, Max said as he expressed his concerns over Sebastian's planet. Well, my own offer is not much better than yours. It will hurt our pockets deeply but it's otherwise acceptable. It's a planet whose borders will be secured by true elites kingdom, so unless the Kingsman clan has multiple destroyer-class battleships, security won't be an issue. It's about 14 hours away from the Kingsman capital on a regular ship, so while it's far, it's not as far as Anna's. It's livable, slightly cold but acceptable, the soil structure is good and there is flowing water. The only downside is that it's gonna cost us 750 million gold coins a year to rent, Max said as he brought forward his proposal. The planet would have only cost 250 million a year to lease if Max went through official channels since it was uninhabited except a few snow giants on a particular corner of the planet. However, Neatwit's new offer cost him 3 times the normal rate, making it 750 million. To be honest, accept the money, it's a good offer. However, I think my offer might just take the cake today, Asiva said at last as she had a big smile plastered on her face. The snooping sweeper came through. Sam St. Maximus has agreed to lease us green soil for free. His only requirement is that we build state-of-the-art research center and living quarters on the planet, so after we leave he can use it for the research that was stagnated after Max's brother destroyed the facility. It's the closest planet we will find to the Kingsman clan, and while it's not the best protected, it's still difficult for the enemy to send multiple ships into St. Maximus territory without possible retaliation. I think it's the best offer we have at the moment. Asiva said as she sounded very proud of Severus's persuasion skills. While Severus himself was blind to it, Asiva and many elders of St. Maximus clan knew that Sam was grooming him to become the next patriarch. His word carried more weight in the clan than he thought it did. I think that settles it then. We are going to green soil, everyone agree? Max asked as everyone raised their cups in agreement and had a bottoms up to seal the deal. // bonus chapter 10 out of 10 for the day. Thank you everyone for supporting the book in GT rankings last month. I'm hoping for a similar support this month as well, and the offer from my side also remains the same. If we manage to become top 10, I will release 10 chapters at once in April as well. I know we can do it, guys, let's go, /////. Chapter 316 Army Assembling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Max sent the official reply letter to Vega informing him that he had found a temporary base on Green Soil Planet. Everything became a blur for Max that day, as he had to scour the open market for tenting and camping equipment, purchasing them on credit using his 7 Galaxies bank card. Max spent close to 200 million gold coins on tenting equipment, food, water, blood, potions, weapons and other necessities, as he had all the shipments be sent to Green Soil. Max knew that when the army arrived on Green Soil, they would not find much of anything there and would need to be fed and provided for. Max had full intentions of making a usable base on Green Soil, but it took time for bases to be constructed, and with Vega's ridiculously thin patience, he was not going to give Max the time he wanted to prepare a base and then call in for the army, so this last-minute preparation was all Max could do to ensure that he would receive the troops as smoothly as he could. This was it for Max now, the start of the journey he had been waiting for so long, his road to become the Vampire King, and the first step in that plan was destroying the Kingsman clan. The next day on Green Soil Planet, it was the busiest day in the history of Green Soil Planet, with hundreds of cargo and personnel ships landing on the planet. Sebastian was the man who was coordinating the stocking of the resources inside the destroyed research facility, while Anna was looking over the smooth settling in of the Titus clan military. Thankfully for Max, the leader of the 500 Tier 4 senior military officers, Abu, lent to him by Vega, respected his personal achievements and contributions to the clan and hence did not make things difficult for Max in setting up a chain of command. After assessing the situation on landing, Abu quickly coordinated amongst the other Tier 4 warriors to set up tents according to the respective units, as 50 tenting colonies were quickly built with roughly 5,000 troops each. Every colony was headed by roughly 10 Tier 4 senior officials in a predetermined role format, with Abu being the de facto leader of the entire troops, and the Titus clan's contact man for the mission. Max, being at the top of the command chain, had to still rely on Abu to get his orders obeyed, as while technically the army was his to command, the underlings only listened to Abu for any and all matters. For now, the Tier 4 military man had put on his best foot forward and done things exactly as Max wanted it to, so there were no problems between the two. However, Max also knew that these lone men and Abu would never follow him into suicidal or crazy battles with difficult odds, and that he needed to find his own men too. Asaiva was trying to regroup the disbanded Paredes clan military, see if she could gather the loyal soldiers who surrendered and took up the life of civilians after their lord was killed. She knew about at least 2 Tier 5 warriors who his father loved and trusted a lot, who had refused to join the Kingsman clan military and had instead chosen exile from the vampire lands. Apart from them, there were also about 200,000 Paredes clan troops who were disbanded and decommissioned. If Asaiva was successful in bringing those troops in, it would be a huge aid to their cause in defeating the Kingsman clan. The only problem was that except spreading the word, she had no other concrete tools to find and rally them. The ex-soldiers were now living fragmented lives and were not connected via a chain of command, making it almost impossible to reach out to each and every one. On the other hand, news about their possible invasion of Kingsman clan was already spreading like wildfire across the Vampire Kingdom and was sure to have reached the ears of the Kingsman bastards as well. The clan was already facing difficulty ever since their patron god, Will, had been killed and the imbecile Roy Kingsman ascended to the throne. However, it had deep foundations and loyal courtroom men who would not sit idly and let some foreigners claim their lands as they wanted. The enemy were sure to start preparing for war. Meanwhile, Arteta, Green Soil Planet, you say? So the puny sweepers of St. Maximus are in on this war. How interesting. I did not expect other vampire clans to shield some rebel upstarts, but if this is how they want to play, then I'll not hesitate in accepting any future missions detrimental to the St. Maximus clan interests, Arteta said as he paid a hefty amount to his informant for bringing him news of Captain Raven's whereabouts. It had not even been a full day since Raven began settling in his army, and Arteta already had news about the living conditions of the men, the rumors floating inside the camp, and about Asaiva's open call for all ex-Paredes clan troops to return to green soil and help avenge the death of their lord. Everything could be bought for a price, and being a part of the Assassin's Guild, he has access to some of the best information gatherers in the universe, who within a day had a full report of all the purchases made by Max in the last 7 days. Arteta was not only well informed, but he also had years of experience doing what he was doing, as after going through the intelligence report he knew that the best route of proceeding was to wait for a week or two for some Paredes clan loyalists to respond to Asaiva's call, before entering green soil pretending to be one of them and getting close to Raven. If there was one thing Arteta was thankfully not short on, it was time, because not only did the enemy need to gather their intelligence report on the Kingsman clan, they needed to gather way more troops if they wanted to launch a serious offensive on Dombivli city. In Arteta's estimate it would take them at least 6.8 months to prepare the first wave of attacks, which was enough time for him to kill Captain Raven 10 times over. Chapter 317 Management Tasks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 7 days later. Why am I always being called inside your office only to be sent away on a scouting mission to some filthy city? Severus complained furiously as Max did not understand how to console him. Severus was Max's top scout. Apart from having unparalleled information gathering ability, he was also undetectable when he wanted to be, blending in perfectly as a street sweeper who everyone consciously avoided eye contact with. See Severus, I'll try that over time. I send you into nicer cities that are more clean, but for now we need some scouts down at the enemy territory. We are blind as to how much forces they have and how well are their landing ports guarded. The Kingsmen will sure as hell not let an entire army storm through their teleportation center. They'll seal it shut before it ever happens. We need to go in via the air-ship route, and if we are to do that we need full information about their air defense systems and their capabilities. We go in blind and we die before setting foot on their turf. I'm sorry that it's a filthy city, but I need you on this one, Max pleaded as he tried to talk sense into Severus, who looked heartbroken. Severus had helped the group big time by securing green soil as a landing base, but Max could only trust him as his chief scout, as while he was sending other troops in as scouts as well, he only trusted Severus blindly. Fine, I don't know why I listen to you kids like you are my patriarch or something, but I'll do it. I guess the fastest way to clean the city is to rid them of the Kingsman filth and then contract the cleaning over to St. Maximus clan. Yes. If that happens we will have clean streets and sewage systems within weeks. Yes. This is a good plan, Severus agreed reluctantly as he talked himself into more good reasons for picking up the job. Max sighed in relief. Sometimes handling Severus and Sebastian was like handling children. While undoubtedly reliable, the two of them were moody like little children at times. Knock knock, come in, Max said as he heard a knock on his temporary wooden office door. Severus took his leave, and Asaiva entered the office as she put another pile of reports and paperwork on Max's desk, much to his dismay. Oh damn it, all I've been doing for the last 20 hours is paperwork, I'm tired Siv, Max complained as he made a childish face underneath his mask looking at the pile of work. Don't slack, we need this done fast. You need to approve 120 million gold coins in critical equipment purchase that Abu says we must have at the camp for the training regiment of the troops. You have to form a hierarchy from amongst the old Paredes troops who have responded to our call, and you have to reply to the various small-time lords who are looking for an opportunity to gain major favors by lending small-time assistance to us, Asaiva said as he filled in Max on all the things he still had to do. For the last 7 days a few hundred Paredes clan troops were showing up on green soil with high morale. Max was genuinely surprised to see so many turn up in batches, as they even paid for the trip to green soil with their own money. If it were a few dozen people, Max would not think of it much. However, over the last 7 days more than 5,000 Paredes family troops had gathered on green soil, with more coming every day. If the words of those who arrived were to be believed, then the news of Asaiva gathering a rebel army was spreading fast, and almost 40.5% of the disbanded army troops were ready to lend her assistance. At this rate, within the next 3 months, Max could see an influx of close to 100,000 troops, which would greatly bolster the strength of his army. However, he needed to provide salaries and equipment and food to these troops, and that would cost a hell lot of money. Since Max was not a lord yet and had no reliable tax income, the pay of the men would come out of his own coffers, which while deeper than most men were not enough to sustain a gigantic army for too long. "Fine, I'll do it," Max said as he rubbed his temples and opened the first file. Asiva smiled as she saw this. She knew just how hard Max was working and hence she decided to do something special for his hard work. Crawling under his desk, Asiva slowly unzipped his pants as while her action startled Max at first, it soon turned into a wide grin as Max loved where this was going. Within seconds his dark night had risen and was serviced by the most exquisite pair of lips, sucking on it strongly like only a vampire could. Usually, Max was a man who never moaned, yet today a few escaped his mouth as he felt pure ecstasy. It was a perfect evening between the couple as they shared a private and intimate moment when suddenly Sebastian barged into Max's office unannounced. "Rav. I'll come back a minute later," Sebastian said as he instantly turned and rushed to go out of the office looking at the kneeling Asiva under Max's desk. "Don't come back, Sebastian, not if you want to keep your balls unscratched," Max said as he encouraged his friend to leave and not come back. Sebastian threw his hands up in surrender as he left the room, but once outside he began wondering why Max would not see him after a minute, because surely he would be finished by then. Little did Sebastian know that Max was just getting warmed up, that it would be hours before he finished. beto.m//////a/n. This bonus chapter is sponsored by patron Zippo 2019, please thank him in the comments for this one /////. Chapter 318 Reputation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A week later, Arteta arrived on green soil mixed amongst other Paredes clan loyalists under the alias Mike. Upon reaching the planet, Arteta did not expect much since it was an undeveloped planet, however, he was surprised to see tens of thousands of construction workers speedily building facilities. While Arteta had some idea about Raven being rich, he had no idea he was rich enough to afford spending money like water. The military training grounds were already ready, with thousands of soldiers undergoing routine drills there, whereas the housing district was being developed under full force. One look at the soldiers on the planet and it was clear that everyone was extremely motivated. Such motivation only came when the men were well fed, given a clear goal and had high hopes of victory. Arteta had disguised himself as a Tier 3 warrior, and upon arriving on the planet he registered himself as an ex-Paredes army troop at Tier 3 and listed his military qualification as garrison commander. He was in no rush to carry out the assassination mission in haste, as he wanted to get a general idea of the situation first before going after Raven. According to Arteta's information, there were no background checks being carried out on the identity of the ex-soldiers, however, he was surprised to find out that he needed to sign a system oath before he was permitted to join the army. The system oath was lengthy and explicitly said that he could not harm any fellow soldier, superior or commander in any way, shape or form, intentionally or unintentionally. It was a ridiculous oath that would bind Arteta and make him unable to kill Raven, hence he had to quickly think of a way of circumventing it. Using quick wits and his Tier 5 agility, Arteta sneakily used a poison needle infused with a drug that could put one to sleep to put the guard who had given him the system contract to sleep. He then pressed the guard's fingerprint on the contract, signing it in under his name before dropping the contract into the contract box and walking into the base. Although this was sure to create some discrepancy down the line, Arteta was convinced he would be done with his job and out of the planet before the rebel forces figured out who did it. Once inside, Arteta was again surprised to see that the ex-Paredes soldiers' camp already had nearly 15,000 troops with more coming in each day. He did not expect so many old soldiers to return to lend a hand in the rebel war as there was no guarantee that the rebel forces could win this fight. Once inside the camp, he realized that the reason why so many soldiers flocked to the rebel camp and why the Titus clan soldiers were in high morale was because of the reputation of Captain Raven as a commander. His name had spread like a wildfire in the vampire community and many now revered him as their idol and role model. Having an unprecedented military record with a low death rate of troops under him, the men had faith that with him at the helm they would have a glorious victory. Arteta soon realized that he had been underestimating Raven greatly since the kid was only tier 3, however, the influence he seemed to have on the troops under him was greater than most tier 5 commanders Arteta knew and respected. The boy was a rising star and a legend in the making. If he managed to win the Kingsman clan and become a lord, his legend would not only grow, it would spread like a wildfire with every ambitious soldier flocking to his territory to join him while he was still on the rise. Too bad this kid won't live too long, Arteta thought, as he reassured himself that Raven had to die because he was too big of a threat for the Kingsman clan if left alive. Meanwhile Max was reading a rudimentary letter from Sebastian and the contents were most concerning. The letter said, Kingsman clan has heavily invested in ground-to-air anti-spacecraft weaponry and have started the construction of 7 major mage towers across the Dombivli city. Even if we send in 1,000 aircrafts at once, none will land with such security measures in place and we will lose 70.8% of our army before even landing. If by some miracle we land safely, we need to fight through a city of blockades and well-constructed battle stations. The enemy has begun the construction of reinforcement centers, medical centers and supply lines. Even if we outnumber them 3.1 they can manage to hold the city for weeks without issue. That brings me to my final assessment, the enemy has close to 300,000 tier 1 troops, 200,000 tier 2 troops, 40,000 tier 3 troops, 150 tier 4 captains and 5 tier 5 generals. The 5 generals were all veterans and were the trusted men of Will Kingsman. Although they are misusing the trust now and are the de facto leaders of the Kingsman clan with the puppet Roy Kingsman on the throne, their military acumen will make it hard to outmaneuver them in war. Although this is my rudimentary assessment and I need to confirm my facts, in my frank opinion this is going to be tough even with Will Kingsman dead. With work aside, I will now like to rant about the sanitary conditions of the city after it was burnt, for starters. Max stopped reading the letter once Severus got off topic and began ranting about the sanitary conditions as his mind became preoccupied with the city fortifications. The capital city was being guarded by nearly 550,000 men and they were going to be defending it across many blocks with well-established defensive positions and retreat lines. Attacking the city aside, just landing inside it was proving to be a nightmare, and Max had to figure out a solution to all these problems while simultaneously increasing the size of his forces. /////A/N. This bonus chapter is sponsored by patron Cervantes 91. Please thank him in the comments for this one /////. Chapter 319 Anna and Max. You are listening at novelfull.audio. While working out on a plan of attack, Max also heavily focused on his training within the mirror world against his own self. In the past few weeks, his progress had been remarkable and he could now injure his clone to about 90% HP every time in a fight. While this may not seem like a lot, it was a massive improvement for Max who could not even scratch his perfect self until a few weeks ago. At least now, he was at 10% his full potential at this tier. Apparently, while he was busy in green soil, Mira had broken through to tier 4 and started to level up again as Max became close to reaching the peak of tier 3 at level 297 himself. Max knew that his daily training had lagged a lot and that despite having a high level, he was far from stat maximization. It felt good to know that even though he was buried in paperworks and not training, he was still improving because of his soul bond with Mira. Up till now Max had no solid ideas about how to solve the issues surrounding his army and his plan of attack, and he was at his wits' end with these matters as well as he realized the importance of having wise counselors and trusted men around him who could solve these issues for him. Asaiva was busy training and reorganizing the old Paredes army troops daily and did not involve herself in the decision-making process at all, whereas Sebastian was borderline useless to seek advice from. In this situation the only person Max could genuinely seek advice from was Anna, as he found himself frequently having long chats with her about work. Anna was different from Asaiva in the sense that she was not a bloodthirsty warrior and was not aggressive. She was much calmer, much more bubbly and much less aggressive. While Asaiva was like a fiery beauty, Anna was like a simple schoolgirl, and in these troubling times she provided Max with some very sound advice. Hence, Max decided to seek her out today as well to talk about the issue surrounding landing in Dombivli City. Because only after having a clear landing strategy, knowing how many troops may potentially die while trying to land, could Max then calculate how many soldiers he would need and what battle plan he would take. Hence the first and the most important issue that needed to be solved was landing. Max walked from his quarters to Anna's, as he politely knocked on her door and requested permission to enter. After a while, he heard a muffled "come in" as he immediately felt weird upon entering the room. One quick scan and Max could notice that Anna had hastily put on her robes. They were awkwardly hanging from her shoulders at an odd angle. There was a sour smell in the air which smelled like something familiar to Max, although he knew what it was. For a moment his brain crashed thinking about it. Max looked at Anna's bed. There was a slight moistness on the bedsheets and Anna herself looked completely flushed, having laborious breathing. Max's dirty mind connected all the dots and immediately a deep blush appeared on his face as he lowered his gaze and stood there awkwardly. While his face was thankfully covered by a mask, Anna could see the apple-red earlobes of Max. Seeing those, she realized that Max knew what had transpired in this room just moments ago, and hence her own embarrassment doubled. A part of Anna was horrified as it felt like Max would view her as a lewd woman now, while another part wanted to desperately see his reaction, to discover his reaction to this side of her personality. The two of them stood there in awkward silence for a full 2 minutes. As the moment Max raised his gaze to meet Anna's, he scanned her beautiful slender legs and pink lips. When their eyes eventually met, he could see the fervent passion inside them as he coughed and felt his heartbeat quicken. "I need some counseling if you are free," Max said, avoiding eye contact. Anna was silent for a while. The shine in her eyes faded as she realized that Max was back to his courteous self, as she too reined in her emotions and then replied in a firm tone, "Sure, just let me go wash my sticky hands." Max said nothing, as Anna quickly went to wash her hands and came back with her clothes fully adjusted as she sat across Max and said, "What do you want advice on?" Max felt slightly disappointed about this tone of Anna's, but he brushed it off as he entered business mode and said, "Landing, we need to figure out how to land on the capital properly. I have thought about it a lot, but I can't seem to figure it out. To counter their weapons we will need frigate-class and destroyer-class battleships, ships that are national secrets of every manufacturing clan. Even if we give them all our wealth we won't be able to buy one. When we need at least a dozen we go there in transportation ships and we will be toast," Max said as he emphasized on the issue of landing. Anna listened to his rambling patiently and then very silently suggested, "I think since we cannot go in openly, we should try to sneak in." Max closed his eyes and rolled his head. "I cannot sneak an army in. It's no longer the 4.5 of us trying to save a Saiva. There is simply no way we can bring an army of 500,000 sneakily into a city. Even if we start sneaking in 500 soldiers a day, it will take us 1,000 days just to get the whole army there, and by that time we would have created a housing crisis and refugee crisis. It's not viable." Anna pursed her lips as she said, "For the sake of argument, let's just say we were to do it sneakily and it's not you who's doing it, it's your brother. How would Shikuni sneak in an army of 500,000 into a city? I'm sure the mastermind strategist you claim he was, he could solve this problem." Max's chest swelled in pride as he said, "My brother. I don't know how, would probably do something crazy, but he would pull it off. If it were him, he probably would, //////n. Bonus chapter for hitting grow a tree target on Discord. Good job everyone. I will attach an updated Max's stat panel under this chapter, for anyone wondering how it looks now, /////. Chapter 320 Sinister Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How would Shikuni sneak an army of 500,000 into a city? I'm sure the mastermind strategist you claim he was, he could solve this problem," Anna said, as she pushed Max towards thinking like his idol. Max wondered about it for a while before saying, "My brother. If it were him, he probably would not attack the capital city at all. The Kingsman clan have 4 total planets they control, 2 of them were their original territory and 2 of them were from when they annexed the Paredes clan. The reason why I'm avoiding doing it is because conquering every planet will require manpower and will lead to loss of lives. Already, the Whiteman clan is eyeing one of the 4 planets that the Kingsmen control because he knows that without Will Kingsman at the helm the Kingsman forces are spread out thin and can't defend their auxiliary territories properly, but they don't have the explicit permission of the king to attack yet, which is why they are holding off for a while. The 4 planets they control are not particularly valuable as 80% of the Kingsman trade by volume goes through Dombivli City while the other 4 planets together contribute very little. However, if one manages to control all 4 planets they can choke out the merchant trading route for the Kingsman clan, making it impossible for merchant ships to go inside and outside the Kingsman clan, straining their economy. Even then, they can probably continue to live in peace for decades as Dombivli is 80% self-sufficient. Its trace ban will ruin the economy but not do much otherwise. While Max said this, the gears in his head began to turn fast as he realized that creating a false economic crisis on Kingsman territory could be an opportunity for him. Wait. I think if we squeeze their trade routes and cripple their merchants, then when they are desperate we send Christian Grey to meet them with the promise that he will sneakily continue trade with Kingsman even though every other merchant was scared. We can have him win Kingsman clan trust. Then one fine day, instead of the cargo, he could bring lots and lots of ships loaded with soldiers instead of cargo, and in that manner we can land on Dombivli without facing the heavy weaponry of the enemy. I think if we figure out the details, this plan can work. Oh my God, Anna, you are genius, Max said excitedly as he felt like he had his eureka moment. No, it was all you. Also I think this plan can work. However, we need to do a lot of foundation work on it, and also I have no idea who Christian Grey is or how reliable he is. But if you trust him then, okay, Anna said as she was delighted that she was able to help Max. Although they were all equal in the group as students in university, somewhere along the line Max became the de facto leader of the group while everyone else became his supporters. Now he was carrying the burden of leadership alone and Anna was happy to help him any tiny bit that she could. Meanwhile Lucifer, at the Dark Conference, every 10 years, the 6 Dark Faction monarchs met for a conference. In the Dark Faction, the Tier 8 monarchs were not referred to as monarchs, but rather called sovereign. The 6 sovereigns were the Ox Sovereign Satan, the Demon Sovereign Astarte, the Fallen Angel/Devil Sovereign Lucifer, the Dark Elf Sovereign Eligast, the Human Sovereign Cain, the Necromancy Sovereign Anubis. Apart from the sovereigns there were some other Tier 8 gods who lived a hermit life without a kingdom or faction, such as the Dark Shaman god Memphitos and the Lust god Asmodeus. However, they were not invited to this meeting. Every 10 years they discussed the state of affairs, and while all of them had internal clashes and tensions, they were mature enough to put them aside for this meeting as they talked about the universe as a whole. If the dragons break their neutrality and lean towards the light faction, the balance of power will shift towards them. Even with the Phoenix, Divine Ninetails and Divine Tortoise clans remaining neutral, the dragons themselves outpower the rest of the beasts. We absolutely can't let that happen, Cain the Human Sovereign said as he assessed the situation. I've already begun the process of starting a civil war. The child Mira will not be allowed to survive for much longer. Sooner or later she will die, and with her blood shall start a bloody civil war that will destroy the dragons. Keek, Lucifer said as he began to laugh evilly. We still need to prepare our forces for war. Whether Lucifer's plan fails or succeeds, war will be at our doorsteps. Either way, Cain said as he insisted to the others to take this matter more seriously. I'm not afraid of the light faction. They have also lost the Thunder Warrior. They are no longer as strong as they once were, Anubis said as he knew that Thor's absence had hurt the light faction big time. I say we take the initiative and launch an attack on the dragons first, because even if 11 out of the 13 dragon species rebel, the Golden and the Black Dragon clans together can quell them all. If we want to dethrone the monarch and place a puppet, we need to get our own hands dirty, Satan said as he urged everyone to prepare for war. The angels won't sit idly if we interfere. If Lucifer's method fails we need to try something different, but direct conflict is not the solution, Eligast the elf said as he tried to knock some sense into Ock's brain. There will be war, be prepared for it. If I can negotiate the correct price with the Universal Queen, I think I can help us get the upper hand with her in our corner. We can get the light faction wiped in one fell swoop, keek, Lucifer said as his evil eyes gleamed with the thought of a sinister plan. ////A/N. This bonus chapter is for hitting grow a tree target on Discord. Good job everyone who participated //